Good Thursday afternoon, everybody. Meteorologist Casey Cloud here in the Weather Center right now, coming on the air for a severe thunderstorm warning, including areas of Baker and Duval and some surrounding zones. I know we've been tracking that they just trimmed this back, but we're watching this severe thunderstorm warning until 3:15 here. The potential for some 60-mile-an-hour wind gust a possibility. I know initially this warning included portions of Baker, Bradford, Clay, Duval, Nassau, Union, and Charlton, but the focus here, as in the description, really toward Baker and Duval, but also a little bit of Nassau still included in this warning here as we're looking at things, as we're tracking things here in toward the weather center. So that's kind of storyline here, and that we have the severe thunderstorm warning in play. There's some damaging wind potential right there southwest of Baldwin here. It's looking like winds to 50 or so miles an hour on the Doppler, a pretty low height. So that means these winds could be really getting down to the surface. It's possible that these could do some damage. I know yesterday we had a strong complex of storm acts, and that wasn't officially warned that caused major problems toward Brevard County in east central Florida. There were some issues there, whether directly or indirectly related, including a crane collapse that was deadly there with 50 or so mile an hour winds, and a plane crash that was not deadly there in toward that region. So you just got to be really careful here whether there's a warning or not. In this case, there is pretty similar numbers to what I was seeing on that storm yesterday toward parts of Brevard County. But this is a pretty big area, 50-mile-an-hour wind gust potential moving up toward Baldwin here over the next few minutes. So that's something we got to watch for as we're looking at things. You see, it really started to show up on the Doppler south of McClinney and the velocity mode here. Just got to be careful, whether there's road construction or whatnot. That latest scan really, though, intensified. It's just updated here, and it's showing 60-mile-an-hour winds now in southwestern Duval County. 60-mile-an-hour wind gust there in southwestern Duval County. So we got to be really careful here as we're looking at this on the velocity mode. So this is right there around areas there just east of US 301, as you're looking there south of Baldwin. This is headed there toward areas closer toward Hurlon Airport and probably in between the White House Naval Outlying Field and the Cecil Field Airport. But anybody in the warning needs to take precaution, obviously, but it looks like it's kind of doing something like this. The worst of this and that could get right into downtown Jacksonville eventually, which could cause some big problems if this holds together. It's not a guarantee that it will, but that's kind of concerning. I'm a little surprised because we don't always do this. I know the pattern's a little different, more of a tropical air mass, not a tropical system, but a tropical air mass here in place. This stuff can hold together a little longer, but we had this area here that was looking strong for a while coming out of Union County. Ultimately got a warning as it was getting into Baker, then it kind of weakened, and now it's really strengthening again based on the algorithms. I know what the radar's showing at a pretty low height. This is probably knocking some trees down here into towards southwestern Duval. I know it's a pretty rural area there, but eventually we're not going to be in a rural area with this. So we need to be really careful as we're tracking the situation here. And I'm just scrubbing back and forth. This is right there on US 301 in southwestern parts of Duval County. We're seeing some really nasty wind here. This is unusually high confidence based on the pattern here that we're probably getting some wind damage. I mean, we had to warn McCullough a couple days ago, but this right here, this is really sticking out into something that's probably severe. So, this is just, toward the south of Baldwin here. It's going to be headed up toward, it looks like, I'm looking at my different maps here, close to Normandy there and toward Jacksonville. So, got to be aware of that. Gotta be aware of that. Just checking all my different modes. I don't have a camera right in that right spot, but I'm gonna see if I can get a look at the clouds maybe from one of these if it's pointed into the proper direction for this, if it's pointing south, if it's pointing west. Just bear with me here. So 1 million, baby, that whitest area there on the wind mode is where the wind damage potential is highest, and that's moving off toward the north and east here. It's moving off toward the north and the east at about, it looks like, here 40 miles an hour. So at 2:51 p.m., a severe thunderstorm is located over Maxville, or 14 miles northwest of Middleburg, moving northeast at 40 miles an hour. 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts are likely. You're seeing areas not directly in McClenny, but around McClenny. Cecil Field, though, may have to be more, on guard. We have, areas Maxville, Briceville, Baldwin, Jacksonville Heights, and White House Airfield underneath the polygon here. So I need to be mindful of that as we're looking at things, as we're tracking things here in toward the weather center. So again, I'm just trying to give you guys the very latest to protect you, your friends, your family. As I go back to the normal reflectivity mode on Doppler here, and I'm going to zoom out a little. We have some more accent around the reason. There's an advisory, I know, in Dixie County. This radar is not going to show it all that well, but there's a wind potential of 40 down there. You see some lightning here and there. And then you see some scattered rain here toward Bradford County and the like. But we did have that warning technically in play for parts of Bradford. But this right here is where our focus is as we're looking up there toward parts of Duval County. That's something we really got to be mindful of as we're looking at things, as we're tracking things here in toward the weather center. Just trying to keep you guys safe here. Trying to see if I can find a direction on here that, gets us into looking at this. I'm just going to go ahead and pull up one of these Florida 511 cameras. And to the right side of the screen, at least on some dark clouds at the top right there. As we're looking, as we're tracking things, it's all about protecting you, your friends, and your family. We're just trying to keep you guys safe here with these inclement weather conditions. There's your velocity mode again. Just trying to keep you guys up to date here on what's going on. The latest scan still showing some wind potential at 60. As we're looking just east to US 301, moving up toward I-10 there, give or take. So moving up in this direction here. You're talking about Erlon Airport. It honestly may go. I'm just looking at the wind angle here. It shouldn't be too far off based on us just being so close to the radar site. I'm scrubbing back and forth. I know it may be a little confusing, but it's me trying to get an idea of the direction on these. So actually, I do think it's going to go just north. The worst of this, they might get still some pretty nasty weather and probably some pretty heavy rain. But the worst of the wind may go just north of Erlon Airport. And it may try to, get closer to the White House Naval Outlying Field area, give or take. But I know we got to rush around Normandy and then County Road 115 and toward that area. As we're tracking things, as we're monitoring things, I know, Normandy Boulevard is the worst, maybe. Affecting parts of that area, though. Normandy Boulevard, maybe not as much. Maybe right toward the First Coast Expressway. As we're, every scan's going to give us a different look at the angle of the movement here. I know I got a question about Mayport. Well, Mayport is not going to hit them soon, but eventually it very well could end up hitting that area. Now there's a boundary over there, so that could influence stuff, whether it causes it to really start to spin. Or it could actually cause, it could end up being a situation where it weakens some. This is where Mayport is. So it could get over there eventually. This is moving there about 40 miles an hour. So it'll take a little while to get across, Duval County, which is a big county, probably about 45 minutes. But if it holds together, it could be in the Mayport area in about 45 minutes there. Now we had a question on YouTube from John, and that's why I mentioned the Mayport area. It could head in that direction in about 45 minutes. Let me go ahead and go to the broad view here. Let's pull up the overall risk for today, which is just the general thunderstorm one. We have a new advisory now towards South Georgia, portions of Cook and Berrien counties. So some strong thunderstorm acts and winds to 40 miles an hour as we're looking at things up there. Just checking some things. I'm going to check that storm on our other mode. I know we have the warning toward Duval's way, but let me go ahead just to make sure we're not seeing any rotation. It looked like we were getting some broad rotation with that actually. Yeah, moving there towards Cecil and Hira. We have some wind enhancement, not really much rotation, I would say, but wind enhancement is the way to describe that. Let's go to that Dixie storm. Let me go to the Tallahassee radar for that. So we got some wind enhancement there, just to the north and east of Horseshoe Beach, in, the worst area there for it. Hard to see on radar though, it's so far away from all of them. Did just get a marine warning from Fernandina to St. Augustine for all this activity. Some wind enhancement there in parts of Clay County. But in Duval County, this is just south of Baldwin. This is pretty nasty here. The latest scan, this came in. It's a little bit broader, but, constant caution, that, phrasing and that, is it really actually weaker? Or is it just getting closer to the radar? Because once it gets lower, it's not going to, maybe just show it as well, but it still could be doing some wind damage. Here, once we get so close, it's going to be where if you have this type of wind this close to the radar, it's still probably doing damage, quite honestly, here from around I-10 there, give or take, to about State Road 228 Normandy Boulevard area. So, it's harder to pick out there. Maybe it could be broadening out, too, the wind enhancement in there, but let me just go ahead and keep looking at things, keep tracking things here in toward the weather center. Just trying to give you guys the very latest on what's going on here. I'm going to take you a camera around I-10 there on the Florida 5-1 perspective. This one kind of tells the story a little bit. Mile marker 346 there. You see some of that wind, that rain. And maybe, I don't know if this is a piece of a tire or a piece of a limb or, actual full limb there on the side there toward the shoulder. But it looks like something down there. See, folks, needing their lights on, obviously, in these inclement conditions. This is some pretty nasty weather activity here. The camera really shaking, some things flying around there. But as we're looking at things, as we're tracking things here, I know, a little bit of a backup on the road there. Watching that carefully. Keep checking in on that as we can on those camera perspectives. Another thing while I'm on, I want to mention severe threat, severe chances going up as we go out further west toward the south central part of the country today. There are 2 areas of enhanced risk. You see a bunch of different mesoscale discussions. Let me take that off. Let me take this off real quick because we do have tornado watches even in the yellow shaded areas now. But with the risk zones, so the tornado risk is greatest around Lubbock here. There is concern that there could end up being a strong tornado in the hatched area here. You even see some development south west of the Levelland community and south of Morton there. As we're looking at things there, so that's the area where we can have a strong tornado or two. Your 10% tornado risk, there's a 5% further out, 2% all the way through Oklahoma City and Tulsa there. Have to see if the College World Series for the women there, the softball, gets interrupted by any bad weather later on. Hope not, but it's possible. They're Texas Tech and Texas game too. Up there in Oklahoma City, but you see the hail threat there. Significant hail could occur in that zone. Your wind risk, significant wind damage could occur in those areas. So that does include Oklahoma City there. So gotta be mindful of that as we're tracking things, as we're monitoring things. I know you see these wind areas here. Excuse me, not wind areas. I mean, you have these warnings for the wind potential, but these tornado watch stated zones. Gotta watch them carefully. I just saw something else pop up. That's why I was kind of, a little bit thrown off. But we do have a new severe thunderstorm warning now for Duval County, and there's now some rotation, and they're thinking about issuing a tornado warning for the metro here if this strengthens. There is weak rotation here. This severe thunderstorm warning goes until 3:45 now. There's a tornado possible tag. So if this intensifies here, there could end up being a tornado warning for the Jacksonville metro area. So we gotta be really on guard with that. We gotta be really on guard with that here. If this intensifies, it could end up being a tornado warning issued for downtown Jacksonville. So we need to be mindful. I don't see a lot on my end, but sometimes when you get so close to the radar, in a way, I see what you're talking about, and we're already so close to the radar, it'd be hard to pick it out. I kind of think I'll go higher up to see. I mean, there's some maybe very broad rotation. I don't see a lot, but you just gotta remain alert for rapidly changing weather conditions here. As we're looking at things, as we're tracking things here. Again, a dangerous situation. There's also an airport weather warning in play. Nasty conditions there toward the airport. As we're looking here, as we're tracking. So this warning goes till 3:30. I might go to 3:45, honestly, but 3:30. Central Nassau, Duval counties there at 3:07. A severe thunderstorm located near Cisco Gardens, or 10 miles west of Jacksonville's downtown, moving northeast at 40 miles an hour. Jacksonville, Fernandina Beach, Jacksonville Airport, Arlington, Atlantic Beach, Ortega, Yulee. We have Cisco Gardens, North Carolina, Cecil Field, all under this, and remain alert for a possible tornado. Tornadoes can develop quickly from severe thunderstorms. Even if you spot a tornado, go at once into the small center room of your sturdy structure, or, really, if you're not in a sturdy structure, you really got to seek that very, very quickly. If there's a tornado warning, you want to be proactive here. So with thunderstorm warning, you still got to be careful, make sure you're not in a building that's vulnerable to strong winds here. Tornado could develop, quickly, so we got to remain alert for that. Right now, I would lean toward it not happening, but it's possible. I think part of that could be that boundary here, because that may be what they're trying to say, that the weak rotation that we're seeing, a very weak rotation right now, could end up turning into strong rotation when it interacts with this boundary. So, again, we got to be remaining alert for that then. We got to remain alert for that here this afternoon. More strong thunderstorms as we look out toward the west and the like. New advisory reports of Swanee, Columbia, Hamilton, and Eccles. But this is what we have the warning here in play. And let's try to get more camera angles. It looks like it's headed more up toward, I-10 there, or a little bit more of a northerly component. A warning would suggest that as well. So let's start pulling some of these I-10 cameras in. So that one way, first off, 16 is White House Naval Outlying Field, where this is headed up, but with that more northerly component. Let me try to find a camera in that area then, if I can. It's all about protecting you, your friends, and your family here. Trying to keep you safe. Just looking here. Let's pull this US-90 camera up. How about that? We'll try this first. This is going to be around West Beaver Street. There's a look there. As we'll continue to watch, I know. Interesting to see, DOT sign there on US 90 off of I-10, but I guess, they might have something like that there. Just, if people ever have to get off of I-10, that kind of serves as that alternate route. And we're going to have some other severe chances coming up. I see there's a slight risk for parts of our area in day 3 there in the convective outlook, 2 out of 5 risk. Watching the overall national meteorological pattern. So that's something we're kind of dealing with here in that regard. Let me go ahead as you see the trees shaking around some there. We'll continue to watch that. Let me go ahead and keep looking at things here. Keep tracking them. We're trying to keep you guys safe here, obviously, with these winds here in Baker and Duval County. Let's head it up toward the 295 area. And really headed, as we alluded to earlier when we first came on, right into downtown Jacksonville. By the way, they did get a gust of, about 305 to 40 miles an hour at Cecil Field. But again, some of the worst of this wind, which, as it gets closer to the radar, it might not look as strong as it actually is. Because once you get so close, you start to get too close. But maybe 40, mile an hour winds. That's a guarantee pretty much. But we could even have gusts of 60 in here as we're looking at things. As we're tracking things right in toward the metro there. In toward Duval County, right into downtown Jacksonville. So let's go ahead and show some different things. The 1 hour rainfall, not really impressive. That dark green there, in some areas, if you look real close, it doesn't really show up too dark, but over ½ an inch in some of that. I mean, this dark green here is closer to an inch, but if we continue to watch, continue to track here the situation, I know we got 1/3 of an inch here in the overnight east of Stark around 5 a.m. or so. Need that rain, maybe some more light rain here over the next little bit, but again, just trying to keep you guys safe here. Trying to keep you guys informed. It's all about protecting you, your friends, and your family. Trying to stay on top of things. Just trying to be here for you. Let's just keep looking at this here. This goes right through Duval County, right through the metro here. We're starting to get more into that, what we call summertime, and depending on how you look at things, so you're not maybe worried about as many folks, having to do, like school per se, but you're worried about maybe those summertime programs being disrupted here. Outdoor activities could get disrupted by some of this storminess. Whenever thunder roars, you need to go indoors. I'm going to put up our other lightning tracker. Don't have a whole bunch of lightning with it, but there's enough obviously to make this dangerous here. Enough to make it dangerous here as we're looking at things this afternoon. So you gotta keep that in mind here. You gotta bear that in mind, obviously. Just trying to keep you up to date. Let me check that storm off of and around Dixie because we're not getting a good angle on that at all. Doesn't look like a whole bunch with it, but we have this warning up here, obviously, we gotta really be mindful of as we're looking at things, as we're tracking things. It's so important. You see, gust of 32 there, a White House naval lying field, but definitely some stronger winds in there. As we're tracking this right in toward the metro there, right in toward the center of Duval County. Let me go ahead and pull some more information up as we continue along here. Just checking some of the different cameras, obviously. Let's pull this one up. It's more of a broad perspective. But I-10 there at I-295 West northbound on the view. As we keep watching, keep tracking. Let's go to this camera view. I-295 West at Herline Road. See the reduced visibility telling the story. Backed up there on the roads. Just got to be really, really careful, obviously. The severe thunderstorm warning in effect. Moving away from that. Again, thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks so much for trusting me here on this Thursday. This is June 5th here, 2025. Appreciate Top Cat and watching there on YouTube as well as we're continuing to watch things here. Just trying to continue to give you guys the very latest here on what's going on. A little bit of a downburst signature right near the airport up there. That's a little concerning. There was an airport weather warning issue, so hopefully everybody's taking precautions there, and they are under the severe thunderstorm warning for the axis further to the south. This right here is a little concerning, though, right there near the airport. Right there near the radar as well, but let's look at some of the strong storm axis near I-75 there. West of White Springs, moving off toward the east. Keep looking, keep tracking things here. See this wind coming up into more Jacksonville proper, downtown. I mean, it's really all the whole county, Jacksonville proper. But talking about right into where downtown is what I mean. That's how they do things there. Technically, all Duval County is Jacksonville, but continuing to give you guys the latest storm total rain here. You know, recent rains, you see areas are going to start getting less than most other folks because the yellows, the reds, the purples indicate more rain in recent days. Let's go back to the regular radar now. See some wind enhancement up in here, right into that boundary actually. Gotta watch for this here in northeastern Duval because this might start spinning a little on us. We have all this wind back in here. A few different areas of concern. There's no formal risk of severe weather today, but you just never know in this time of year and in this pattern here, tropical air mass. You'd actually expect maybe less severe warnings, but then it's stuff to hold together a little bit better though when it does evolve. And sometimes you can have rotation in this. Here the rotation will be more driven probably by a boundary interacting. But just continuing to watch. I know we're down to 77 degrees here in this dark area from this rain around. I haven't really got too much of it, to be too heavy, but we had rain this morning. As we continue to watch, continue to track. Continue to look at the box here. And it's kind of a confusing situation because as we're looking at things and as we're tracking here, since we're getting so close to the radar, it's obscuring some of this, and I think, it's making the one area that might be a little bit stronger look not as strong, maybe more like the others. So, I would kind of extend the warning here just based on all the convection up, maybe to like 4 o'clock, but it's set to expire at 3:30, and we're not really seeing the velocities that are technically severe, so it's a little bit tricky in that regard. I mean, what do we end up doing here in terms of the warning? Do we kind of reissue, or how does that go? That's a question that we have right now. Let's take you to a camera that's shaking around there, I-10 at Stockton Street. See all the different roads there right into Duval County. All the vehicles. Not really having to worry about the trees for most of this stretch here. The different paths, but could have, some that are right toward the right side of the screen where I need to take off far. Severe warning super, you can kind of see there, bottom right, there's some, could become an issue if something were to happen. As we're looking at things right now, everybody with their lights on here and the like. As we continue to watch and continue to track. Continuing to look for some more camera angles. Let's go ahead and pull this up. See some low-hanging clouds. I-95 at exit 353 8th Street there. As we continue along. Let's continue to track things here in the Weather Center. Trying to pull up more camera angles. You see some of the dark skies on the view about to show in a traffic backup. Granted, I don't know if it's directly weather related, but here's I-95 at Atlantic Boulevard. As you kind of look at things here and track things. Let me move away from that. Well, I do see something real quick before I do. I see top right. A little bit of a dark, sky there. That's more enhanced than the rest of it. It may just be the way the camera is looking at things, but it's interesting. We'll move away from it for now, but I'll continue to look at things after things. I think the weather's deteriorating actually in that area. See if we can find anything a little bit better on that. We'll just go back to it. I don't really see something here right off that's any better. It's looking northwest, and it's really, just in the last few seconds, really gotten a lot worse there in that area. I mean, this is the same view I just showed, and see how quickly things change. Very, very, very quickly there. But they are going to expire a severe thunderstorm warning. They're saying they don't think this meets severe criteria anymore, as we've kind of had multiple different areas pop up, and maybe, and it's, you know, the radar angles being so close, it may be underdoing it a little, in my opinion. But it's possible also that these storms kind of taking the energy away from the others, and everything's just strong now, not severe officially, but still dangerous. Still can lead to accidents on the road here, obviously, as we're looking at things, as we're tracking things here in toward the weather center. You see that reduced visibility here. A lot of traffic for nasty weather like this. Definitely telling that story. See all that lightning popping up right there toward downtown. I'm going to keep looking for different camera angles. We're going to go to I-95 at San Marco here. Traffic's almost at a standstill in that area. Parts of this. Not ideal here as a crossing the water to tell the story with the different images and the like. Not ideal travel conditions. Continuing to effort the angles here. It's all about protecting you, your friends, your family. I know they're dropping the warning. I'm stick with it though a little longer. There's an advisory now at 4:15 for 40-mile-an-hour wind gust. I'm asking what this stuff is in Jacksonville. Let's zoom back in on the radar. Definitely more broad now because there's just a lot more convection in here, even along the line here. You had this here, you have this here. Everything looks strong. Nothing really looks severe. This one north of the airport looks interesting, though. Gotta be careful there. Got a lot of strong weather, not necessarily officially to 60-mile-an-hour wind gust potential in that severe delineation. Again, we're trying to give you guys the updates here the best we can. So important, obviously. Very important to keep an eye on things. I'll pull this camera up here, I-95 at Union Street. This is in Duval County, of course. See some of that wind blowing around to an extent if you look close. Take you to I-95 at 8th Street here. Another angle. traffic backup towing a story. As you look closely there. We had this camera up earlier on as well in the coverage. We continue to watch, continue to track here. Take you to I-10 collector at 4th Street. Telling that story. Just checking some of the power outage information. Check JEA and the reporting site. See what I can determine. Looks like only just a handful of customers without electricity, and that's toward the White House area, give or take, in Duval County. Again, continuing to watch things, continuing to track them. We got a gust of 46 miles an hour at NAS Jacks at 328. So they'll be down here. So this one will update here in a moment. This is kind of really, become more of a, long line here of strong thunderstorms instead of that concentrated area of severe. You see light rain down towards Stark, by the way, if you're wondering, in Bradford County, down toward Hampton as well. I'm making things a little slick out there, but not overwhelming. You have more to kind of coming in that could be a little bit more with downpours as we look ahead. You have this strong thunderstorm axe in there to report to Hamilton, parts of Swanee and Columbia. East of Hayhira, we have some wind enhancement. Moving toward the Ray City area, Barrett's, give or take. South central Georgia. Some lightning with the Tallahassee. There's your 46 gust, by the way, if you were wondering. That was going to pop up at 10. Switch radar velocity views here back to the Jacksonville viewpoint. I know as we're continuing to track this, and we're trying to be a little extra careful since this is right into Duval. There's just so many people. I mean, there's more people in that little area there, around downtown Jacksonville than there would probably be in any other area of the viewing circle in terms of that small geographic size in comparison. So we just got to be mindful here. Just right around downtown, where some of the worst of this would be. Little pockets of wind enhancement here and there. As we're continuing to give you guys the latest. Let's take a look towards San Marcos South Bank, see if I can pull up a camera there. That region. I-95 and Atlantic Boulevard. Traffic really not moving too much in some of this. Getting closer to evening commuter this summer. And, well, it's raining and it's pretty wet out there. The inclement weather causing backups here, obviously, on the roadways. toward Duval County right now there and the metro. So something to be mindful of. Just got to be mindful of it. Just continuing to give you the latest. All this reduced visibility on the road, just so you know, there's another look here with not good traffic at all. We'll go ahead and see this. If you look underneath there, I-95 at mile marker 348.9 is just backing up here with this reduced visibility. There could be little accidents happening here and there, even when you have stuff like this taking place. Just telling that story there toward Jacksonville right now in these Florida 511 camera perspectives. Severe thunderstorm warning expired at 3:30, but this is over a highly populated area like this after what happened in Brevard County yesterday. Some, bad conditions happening. Didn't have a warning, didn't necessarily maybe have severe conditions, maybe only gusting to 50 range, but those can still be deadly, as we saw. It could have been a contributing factor to a crane collapse there. Plus, there was also a plane crash that was not deadly down there. So, just, the air mass here, there's some similarities. So, just got to be mindful of that here toward Duval County in our covered area. As we're looking at things, as we're tracking things here, I know we always are on for tornado warning storms within 62 counties. There was a tornado possible tag at one point in the severe thunderstorm warning. The rotation was really weak. I think they were just anticipating maybe a boundary, hadn't it, causing it to spin up, but didn't necessarily see that. There's a potential that it could hit it anyway, but you can see here all this back up there. We had that tornado last week in the areas there of northern St. John's. That region didn't have a tornado warning officially, so we also have a lot of wind damage toward Clay County, so just trying to err on the side of caution. I know funnel cloud accident there last week with the convection, so just continuing to give you guys the latest. I might not stick with it too much longer with it not having a warning, but don't be, out at the beaches here when there's lightning around. Obviously up here, American Beach to around Mayport, there's already some pretty nasty weather there, but just whenever thunder roars, go indoors. This is not ideal beach weather by any stretch. You need to take precaution to protect yourself here when there's electrical accident around, when there's lightning around here. You need to be really, really careful. So, still some wind enhancement, gusts to 50 possible in that area. My assessment based on another advisories for gusts there around 40, and we had a gust to 46, so we'll say 50. Kind of split the difference between strong and 40. 50 is also strong, but not quite getting the severe criteria at 60 or so. So I say just about 50 a possibility. As we're looking at, that could still be problematic, obviously. More of this moving into toward Mayport, but we already have some convection there. It's a lot of heavy rain. It's probably going to be a quick, let's see here. You see some heavy stuff there up toward near the airport. There may be 2 inches in an hour. But I would say some of these areas could definitely pick up a quick inch of rain there with this being, this heavy and this big of a widespread area. So a quick inch of rain. We need the rain. Just don't necessarily want it here when quite a few folks are on the road and, in the metro area, they need the rain as well. But you just don't want to have accidents from it, obviously. There is a year-long burn ban up there, so it's at least, something where, they're kind of already in that regard, based on just, there's so much population being a little more proactive, needing to maybe be a little more proactive with that, there indoor that region, that urban area, but they need to rain anyway, whether there's a burn ban or not, fires can still happen, and this is helpful. This is good news in that regard, so. Looks like some of the highest winds starting to get closer toward 9A now. And eventually this area is going to be Mayport, Jack's Beach, Ponte Vedra Beach, even Sawgrass here, you know, to some degree, getting into this. Of course, up there, southeastern Nassau County is a possibility as well. I mean, even eastern, just to say eastern and northeastern Nassau, even all the way to Fernandina Beach is a possibility. So, again, trying to give you guys the latest. It is 3:43 on this Thursday. See some lightning there east of Hahira whenever thunder roars go indoors, moving towards Lakeland, Jordan, Lanier County. Yeah, this thunderstorm moving toward Thomasville there in Thomas County to some degree. So that other angle's set a little different. I will say that. Let's kind of do the track on our own. I know our algorithm will pick up different things. Kind of, you know, this is kind of headed toward the south side of Thomasville. The area near Cairo maybe ends up getting more into toward Thomas. So it's starting to strengthen some. You know, at least the north side of Thomasville. That the tracks on these are kind of tricky because these both kind of look like they're headed more east. So there's a chance, you know, downtown Thomasville, if it doesn't fill in, could miss out on the heavier rain. But we'll see with that. I guess the 36 in Gadsden County earlier on this afternoon around 2:30ish or so. I know, we just have to watch all these to make sure they don't go severe on us, but not necessarily expecting that. You know, we've had these high rain chances here today. A little bit of wind enhancement on this here. Let me check the Moody though. And it's not showing it as much there, but yeah, it is showing a little bit of broad rotation, I would say, moving up toward White Springs. Curious on that. I don't necessarily think that'd produce anything really nasty, but now that could be capable of producing a brief funnel cloud. So let's see. We should probably get a camera right there. I don't see why not. So let's see if, I mean, they have to be in the right angle, but let's look at some of these clouds. We'll go ahead and try to do that here. You see the top right there. Dark skies at least. As we keep looking at things. Keep tracking them. Ooh, this tells the story. Here you go. Oh, let's try that again. I hit the wrong button. There you go. Okay, so this is I-75 at Swanee Valley, mile marker of 436.9. That top right view there. That's interesting. I don't necessarily see any rotation now, but low-hanging cloud cover for sure. I mean, we're not getting the whole picture of it. There could be some rotation somewhere there to be indicative of even a funnel cloud. I don't think that's out of the question on that. I don't think it really produced a tornado. I don't think the rotation is tight enough for that, but it's interesting. I wish this camera was turned just a little bit over there. But we'll keep effort in things. It is coming into view to some degree, so I'm going to keep an eye on that camera. Make sure I can get back to it. Just go down one more to see if it's turned. They're not 75. I'll go to a camera further north real quick to show the rain. And there's a tropical air mass, and sometimes you can get like a quick tropical funnel. Something like that. Not expecting us to really get a warning, quite honestly. You know, not sure that it would even, you know, need a warning. It's just the idea of it. Kind of interesting. We'll go back to the other view. Now it's kind of coming out, going away from the view now. Well, yes, well, at least we got a little bit of a vantage point on it. Trying a couple more things. And we can go a little bit further south and kind of get a look at this. Mile marker 296.7. Looks like mainly dark clouds, maybe a little bit of scud or something, but really not seeing anything too crazy, at least that part of the view. On the Florida 5-1 perspectives. Just kind of interesting to see that. Looks like it's weakening, but there definitely has been a little bit of weak rotation with that backside there. Let's go ahead to Duval County, what we came 1-4. Ooh, I think we're about to get some type of warning. We didn't want to go out because these were strong. They were not necessarily severe here anymore, but we wanted to stick with it. We had a warning, the severe warning we came 1-4. We had another one followed up, or another one that followed up the first one. But this is some rotation here, guys. Right there, moving toward Atlantic Beach. I think we're getting some interaction with that boundary now. We sure are. And that's causing some of that stuff to spin now. We had a gust of 47 there. Craig Municipal Airport. Let's see if we can get any cameras up there. I don't know how far we can get on A1A, Atlantic Beach. This may, we may be starting to get a developing circulation there. This could get a severe thunderstorm or even a tornado warning real quick here if we're not careful. Nope, there's no cameras right there. Let me see how I can get a camera a little bit to the south, see if we can get anything on it. There's some rotation further down too. But yeah, there's some weak rotation. That may tighten up into something because that's right on the boundary. This is how you get tornado warning sometimes this time of year. Don't have it yet, but we need to remain on guard, remain alert here for this. We don't want to jump off yet then. You see the, inclement conditions, the wind blowing. This is further over in eastern Duval. That's really quickly, evolving there though. See if we have a view from Hodges Boulevard. Ooh, these are some dark skies. I think the aperture on this maybe, not necessarily helpful. I don't think it's as dark as it looks, but this looks scary, just the overall look there. State Road 202 at Hodges Boulevard. I think it's a little too dark, but, it does show the cloud structure well. I mean, the road, I don't know if it's quite that dark, but it does show that these are some nasty storms here and that this is some inclement weather for sure. I'm looking to see if the clouds are rotating. Let's go ahead and go back on over to the Doppler velocity. Well, that latest scan here, this is going to be offshore very quickly. But around Atlantic Beach, there may be something trying to develop. It just goes from 340, not much, 345, we started to see it. And 350 is still there, but it's about to be off the coast around Atlantic Beach. Don't see any debris here on this. There's no warning, by the way. That latest scan, based on this one, I'm not sure they're going to issue because it's so close to the coast now. There's quite a bit of wind there, though. I mean, there could be some wind damage on it. State Road A1A in that area, right there toward Atlantic Beach. This is coming in on you now. Like right now, if you might be in your car watching me, and the winds are probably picking up right now. This is about to move offshore to worst of this anyway, leading the edge here. Of the worst of this, but you're going to have to be in heavy rain for a little while, so I guess stay, in that safe area there the best you can, because whenever thunder roars, you really want to be indoors, but I just know people sometimes will go to the cars here when there's bad weather arriving toward the beaches and the like. You're looking here, State Road A1A. All that wind there, Atlantic Beach. I mean, if you're in your car at this point, just stay in it, I guess, if you're in that area, because you'd be risking yourself more by getting out in the lightning here and there. Unless, I mean, you really are just within maybe a feet or two of the door, but, of a sturdy structure. Just got to be kind of careful, because if there were to be, there were to be a tornadic circulation here to try to develop, it might be a different story. Wouldn't be surprised if this produces a water spout just east of the coast there. As we're looking at things, I know real quick we're going to go to the national story. Watching some stuff in Oklahoma, that's pretty nasty. Look at all that lightning there, west of Oklahoma City. You're going to have to watch that. I know Lubbock area, going to have to watch for some strong tornado potential. As I look ahead, it's been pretty clear in terms of the radar view, but that's going to change out there. Even a severe thunderstorm warning in Nevada right now, south of Las Vegas. As we get back to the home view, you see around Atlantic Beach. See that new marine warning coming up, water spout tag on that for a potential water spout. Got Sharon watching there on YouTube, living in southeast Georgia, north of Brunswick. They had rough weather, wind, buckets of rain, wild conditions there. This pattern, definitely can lead, to tropical-like downpour, squally type of weather here at times. Even if you don't have warnings in play, I'll back it up, and you'll be able to see how McIntosh County, if that's, where, they are watching from, or Northern Glen had some, you see the 40-mile-an-hour gust country club estate there at 255, and Northern Glen in our area, our coverage area, so in this squally weather, you can have a bunch of stuff that's sub-severe, but it's still pretty nasty and kind of, in some cases can be dangerous. Had that yesterday, unfortunately, tragically, in Brevard County, East Central Florida. It's in a tropical system, though, so it's kind of not something we're going to just break in for strong thunderstorms all the time. We had the severe warnings, so stick with it. Want to stick with it through the metro there, because there's so many people being impacted, and it, started to uptick a little near the coast there. We saw they got to 47 at Craig Municipal Airport. There's some rotations there on Atlantic Beach, but I suspect that's probably over to water now. Latest scan, you see that being the case. Now, Jacksonville Beach, there's a little bit of enhancement down here. I don't really think that's much rotation, though. Let's just pull up the bridge tracker in here. Just trying to correlate things, I know. Like, that's not anything. I'd be a little yellow area within all of this if there was something. Don't really see anything, so that's good. Watching some stuff still back out to the western of the airport. It's probably not as heavy, as the other axon. It's hard to see because the radar obscures it. Some lightning there in Flagler will watch. And so there's St. John's. Whenever thunder roars, go indoors. Very important to keep in mind. We're going to wrap the coverage now, I think. Thank you so much for tuning in here on this Thursday. We'll be back with our formal update tonight, but if we need to break back in earlier for the Texas Panhandle, maybe something like that for the national threat, if we get like a significant tornado situation there, if we get like a tornado emergency or something escalating that far, then we'll make, we'll need to maybe be on. Yeah, of course, if it's a tornado emergency, we would be on, but you get what I mean. If, something starts to escalate in that direction, even, we'll continue to track things, be retreating stuff there at Cloud Casey on Twitter as needed for national threat, local, posting stuff there, and also on Facebook, Casey Cloud, WX and Cloud Weather, and on the live stream here as it is warranted, obviously. So just be careful, stay safe, try to enjoy the rest of your day. We're going to be here as needed, and again later tonight, late tonight with that form.